Thanks for joining us for our last parent tips video for Sideways Stories from Wayside School, where we're sharing tips for supporting students with reading at home. Today we're talking about fluency. We'll be looking at what fluency means and strategies to help students improve. Reading fluency is an important part of becoming a good reader. Reading fluently involves several characteristics. First, we want to make sure students can read at a good speed. When students can read at a good rate, it typically means they aren't having to focus on sounding out words. This means they can focus more on what the text is saying. Part of this is reading smoothly at a natural pace, meaning that students are reading at a similar rhythm they would use when talking. Another quality of a fluent reader is paying attention to punctuation, pausing at periods and commas, and noticing question marks or exclamation marks. This helps them to read with emotion, which is another quality of a fluent reader. Reading with emotion is a sign they are making meaning while reading. If your student needs help with fluency, there are a few easy strategies you can use to help. The first strategy is echo reading. For this strategy, you or another fluent reader should model in small pieces what the text should sound like when read fluently. Then, the student echoes you by reading the same piece, trying to match your model. Continue doing this until you finish the text or excerpt you've chosen. For example, you choose a page or paragraph in the book you're reading, like Sideways Stories from Wayside School. The page shown here from Rondi's story is a good choice because there are several opportunities for students to pay attention to punctuation and read with emotion. The second strategy is called choral reading. This strategy involves you and your student trying to read the text you've chosen together. While reading, the student is trying to match your pace and inflection. And the last strategy is called repeated reading. For repeated reading, the student reads the same text or excerpt multiple times, each time attempting to improve their rate, pace, or inflection. In between readings, it is helpful to give them feedback on a way they can improve the next time. For example, if your student isn't pausing at periods, you may give them that feedback and ask them to try on their next reading. Your student may want to time each reading to see if they're able to improve as they go. One thing to keep in mind when using these strategies is knowing your student's reading abilities. If your student is just learning to read, especially in kindergarten through second grade, using an excerpt from Sideways Stories is probably not the best tool. These strategies should be used with a text that the students can read independently or close to independently. You can use any piece of text to practice. It doesn't have to be lengthy. Try having your student pick their favorite part of the book or chapter they may have read that day. If you aren't sure what text will be the most beneficial for your student, his or her teacher can help. Don't feel like you need to do all three strategies every time you read with your student. One strategy at a time is just fine. This is our last day of reading and learning together. We hope you'll remember these 4 tools as you support your students at home. Try to make daily reading a habit in your home, even if it's just a few minutes. Practice the high-frequency power words. Have conversations with your students so they have opportunities to practice listening, responding, and asking questions of their own. And as we discussed today, practice reading fluently. If we can ever answer any questions for you about your students' reading needs or suggestions for you, please reach out to us. You can find me, Jennifer King, on ClassDojo. I've also included my email here. Thank you again for participating.